How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is TheStarkz, and welcome to a brand new The Last of Us Part 2 video. Today, I've got some very conflicting and unfortunate, hopefully not, but unfortunate news regarding the multiplayer side of The Last of Us Part 2. Now, before I proceed, I want to say this video clip that I have for you is gameplay that I've used on this channel before. I didn't have time to get new gameplay, and I don't want to use the new Part 2 gameplay because I don't want it to be taken down. Also, I'm a little sick, so it's not my emotions that you're hearing, it's just my sniffles because I've got allergies and whatnot. But yeah, let's proceed with the article. So now this is an article which was provided by Kathy or Caddy McCarthy, who's an editor at usgamer.net. Now, the headline says The Last of Us Part 2 won't have multiplayer after all. And the subtitle says, "Sorry Factions fans, The Last of Us Part 2 will not have a multiplayer mode." So it quotes, "It turns out that The Last of Us Part 2 actually won't have a multiplayer mode, contrary to reports last year saying otherwise. At an event earlier this week, Naughty Dog lead game designer Emilia Schultz confirmed the lack of multiplayer in an interview with US Gamer. In a follow-up after the event, Sony reconfirmed the news. We're focusing on a single-player experience, so we're just making a single-player game for this," Schultz said during the event when asked about what sort of form the previously confirmed multiplayer would take. "Correct, it is a single-player game," a Sony representative subsequently clarified over email. Previously, at E3 2018, co-directors Kurt Marganow and Anthony Newman confirmed to outlets such as Polygon and GameSpot that The Last of Us's multiplayer mode would be making a comeback. For a long time, it was a trend for traditionally single-player games to get a shoehorned-in multiplayer mode. Naughty Dog's The Last of Us was among them, but surprisingly, its Factions multiplayer mode was pretty robust and inspired. It even let you link your Facebook accounts so that the quote-unquote survivors in your group would have your friends' names and likenesses. It was a little sad to see its server shutter earlier this September on PlayStation 3. Now, we know that the same server-ending fate won't befall The Last of Us Part 2 because there will be no servers to say goodbye to. Now, that's pretty much the end of the article, although the person goes over some of the AI improvements for The Last of Us Part 2, which I won't focus on because this is about the multiplayer. Now, this was a very hard-hitting, very strange, a very emotional moment just a couple hours ago. And the reason is because the multiplayer has a strong community behind it. Without naming any content creators in specific, it's like there's a lot of people that resonated with this multiplayer significantly, including myself. I still play it to this day. It's my go-to multiplayer, believe it or not, because the multiplayer for the Part 1 is the best multiplayer experience I've ever had, aside from Uncharted 3, which was pretty good too, and Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto 5, that is. But what I find kind of strange is how Emilia Schultz said the lack of multiplayer, and the fact that Anthony Newman as well as Kurt Marganow did confirm back in over a year ago in a couple of months, said, hey, The Last of Us will indeed have multiplayer. So it has me to believe that they have been working on a multiplayer, but perhaps it's not ready yet. Now that's probably the thing that I'm going to pull out of this article the most, is that the fact that maybe we aren't getting multiplayer at launch, but we are going to have multiplayer. Based off of this article, based off of what Emilia Schultz said, as well as the Sony representative, as well as Haley Gross, one of the co-writers, I think, on The Last of Us Part 2, also confirmed that it won't have multiplayer, or a focus, that is. That doesn't mean we're not going to get multiplayer. So I was very quick to mention, specifically on Twitter, which you can follow me on, link is in the description, that the multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 2 there won't be any, because obviously that's huge news. It's like, for content creators, that sucks. For people who enjoy multiplayer, that sucks. And I think based off of a lot of the performance enhancements and graphical fidelity that Naughty Dog have been aiming for the story, it's like, how could they not implement a multiplayer version of The Last of Us' story into multiplayer form? So this is very conflicting news. Of course, if you want to read the article for yourself, it will be in the description below for you to read. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions regarding this. Do you believe that we're not going to get multiplayer? And if so, why? And if you do think we're going to get multiplayer, when do you think we'll get it? Do you think we're actually going to get it at launch? Or do you think we might get it at launch, but just with 2 game modes to start off with, or that we might not get multiplayer at all, or that if we do get multiplayer, it won't be until later. Like, what is your opinions? Personally, I don't believe we're not going to get multiplayer. However, if we don't get multiplayer, personally, I think that's kind of insensitive of Naughty Dog to do to a grand community who has shaped their company. We're fans of The Last of Us, and I get it. They have their own vision, which I respect. But for them not to include multiplayer would be a little insensitive of them to do. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I know there's a lot of outrage right now on Twitter regarding multiplayer, but we'll see. And yeah, those are my thoughts for today's video. Stay tuned for more of The Last of Us Part 2 videos. And with that being said, I've been TheStarkz. Peace.